Hey everyone, I hope you're doing well and welcome to the channel. If you're new here, we talk about execution, crime and other things, so if you're interested, be sure to stick around. Anyway, let's get into today's case. Today we are looking into the case of Shirley June Finn, a Perth brothel owner and socialite who was suddenly killed in 1975. But despite many years of continuous investigation, the case remains unsolved today. So, who could have killed Shirley Finn, and why? Shirley June Finn was born in Perth, Australia on the 2nd of November 1941. A wartime baby, she was the eldest child of a bomber pilot and therefore was brought up solely by her mother during her early years. After the war, her family lived in comfortable surroundings in the riverside suburb of Mount Pleasant, where she became a teenager before the birth of her three younger siblings. Shirley was successful in her schoolwork, even top of the class. However, she soon discovered boys and became sexually active at the age of 14. During her teenage years, she became rebellious, and her father would frequently worry about her, especially as she would sneak out in the middle of the night. As a result, her father sometimes even had to resort to asking the police to help in locating her. Unfortunately, on one occasion the police found Shirley with a much older boy, a man in his 20s. The police caught her with this individual on 2 occasions, and they considered her an out-of-control girl, though they should have been questioning the young man's behaviour over hers. As a result, her family was exiled, and Shirley was committed for 8 months to a notoriously cruel Catholic Church welfare home. At this home, she was forced to clean sheets to wash away her sins. During this time, the psychology report stated that she turned from a happy, outgoing girl to one who was depressed and considered herself corrupt and terrible. Shirley left school at the age of 15 and found work in a city frock shop, where she met her husband-to-be, Des Finn, a 22-year-old Air Force mechanic. A romance quickly blossomed, and the couple married in Perth and moved to Melbourne, Australia, where he continued to work for the Royal Australian Air Force, while she worked as a sales assistant at the department store Buckley and Nunn. The pair went on to have 2 sons, Stephen, born in 1959, and Shane, born in 1960. The family then moved back to Perth, where their daughter Bridget was born in 1961. The following year, when Shirley was just 21 years old, her husband suffered a severe injury and subsequent mental instability. As a result, he could no longer provide for the family, meaning Shirley now had 4 mouths to feed. Consequently, Shirley decided to begin providing sex-oriented services as a means of supporting her 3 children and husband. These included strip dancing and body painting. She also joined a witchcraft coven that conducted black magic and sex activities in Kings Park. From this, she advanced to a career of topless dancing and body painting in association with a travelling fairground boxing troupe. Shirley continued in this line of work for the next 7 years, and by 1969, she was conducting a body painting and escort business, which was raided by police, leading to her being charged and convicted with keeping premises for the purpose of prostitution. As a result, the family was ostracised and the children were expelled from their Catholic primary school. But instead of changing her lifestyle, she became even more involved with the Sydney underworld and soon became associated with organised crime figures from King's Cross, Sydney, and operated a business in 1969 with the protection of a corrupt police officer who she was working with. With the help of the mining boom in the area and being protected by corrupt cops, Shirley was able to make a large amount of money for herself from prostitution, while at the time there was a large amount of wealth in prostitution. This enabled her to buy a lovely house on the riverside, throw extravagant parties, and live a very glamorous life. Yet despite this facade of an extravagant life, she was clearly having marital issues, as Shirley eventually broke up with her husband and began dating a much younger woman, Rose Black. Shirley seemed to be happy with this relationship, but this would all tragically end when Shirley was murdered. Shirley was murdered on the 22nd or 23rd of June 1975, at the age of 33. A motorcycle traffic officer found Shirley's body at about 8:30 a.m. on Monday the 23rd of June 1975, in her parked Dodge DG Phoenix car near the 9th fairway of the Royal Perth Golf Club, South Perth. The location, just off the busiest freeway in town, is visible from the adjacent Kwinana Freeway, from which it was then separated only by a waist-high fence and an access road. Inside the car, Finn's body was slumped behind the wheel, with 4 bullet holes in her head. She was dressed in an exquisite ball gown with gorgeous shoes to match, and more valuable diamond jewellery which had not been touched. At the time, the gown she was wearing was valued at 5,000 Australian dollars. Because she was found dressed to impress, it seemed as if she were heading out for a night of glamour, obviously not expecting to be ambushed on the highway. It should also be mentioned that the location of her murder was very public, making it seem as though the perpetrator wasn't at all concerned about getting caught. Furthermore, Shirley had been murdered 2 days before her tax hearing, at which she threatened to expose the illicit dealings of police, politicians, and businesses unless she was given help with the tax debt that she was struggling to pay. The murder shocked the people of Perth, and within weeks, the spotlight of suspicion fell on police and politicians. It is natural to assume that she was killed to keep her quiet. Police had access to guns and the ability to cover up investigations, and several witnesses have said she was seen with Bernie Johnson, a former detective who multiple people claim confessed to the murder. The night that Shirley was murdered, her 13-year-old daughter had gone to bed, and Shirley had told her girlfriend Rose that she would meet a person called the Bear, who had arranged for someone from Sydney to come over and fix her tax debt. Shirley's girlfriend mentioned to the court that the Bear was the same person Shirley had been meeting with once a month, and therefore she believed Shirley was paying him a fee in return for operating her brothel. A previous witness, convicted race fixer Robert Myers, told the court Bernie Johnson, the fearsome head of the police vice squad in 1975, was known as BJ the Bear. Miss Black, Shirley's girlfriend, said she later considered that Bernie Johnson and the Bear were one and the same, but she could not be sure. Yet, is it possible that Rose Black knew more than she was letting on? 2 witnesses, named Edward and Elaine Mosley, told the court that they saw the white Dodge back on the golf course sometime between 11:30 p.m. and midnight, and that there were 2 people near the Dodge. One of them, a woman who matched Miss Black's description. Miss Black was displayed in front of the couple at the police station after the murder, but Mr. and Mrs. Mosley said they could not be sure if it was the same woman that they had seen at the golf course. Police also conducted a ballistic test to see if Miss Black had shot a firearm and tested some of her clothes. One outfit was found to have blood that matched both her and Shirley's blood type, yet Miss Black did not provide any explanation for the stains. Sadly, the investigation dried up with no new leads, and years later in an interview, Rose explained how she has felt scared for the last 40 years, afraid that what happened to her girlfriend Shirley could one day happen to her. So is it possible that Rose knew more about the events that night, but was too afraid to speak out for her safety? On the 30th anniversary of her murder, the 23rd of June 2005, a cold case review of the murder was announced, but it was considered that no solution to the case was likely. Over time, a range of interpretations as to who the murderer was have been speculated upon, but no convictions have ever been brought. In 2014, another cold case review was launched by Western Australia Police. The following year, the Corruption and Crime Commission confirmed that it had received new information about the murder. News reports said a former policeman had spoken about seeing Shirley Finn with detectives in the bar of the old Central Police Station in East Perth on the night she was killed. However, as of the 7th of September 2017, no further information had been released by police about their cold case review. On the 6th of March 2017, the ABC television documentary series Australian Story aired an episode titled Getting Away with Murder, which revealed a coronial inquest would be conducted in 2017. The story also presented the testimony from Shirley Finn's former driver, Leigh Beswick, which revealed that Shirley had an extended relationship with then Police Minister Ray O'Connor. The inquest, scheduled to open on the 11th of September 2017, commenced on Tuesday the 29th of August to get evidence from former WA detective James Archibald Boland about an officially documented 1975 rumour that Sydney criminal Neddy Smith had flown to Perth for an arranged meeting with Shirley Finn and an unnamed police officer. The public hearing was adjourned on the 20th of December 2017 and resumed on the 23rd of July 2018. After a week, it was suspended again for 6 months, which allowed for new leads to be followed up and for 2 scientific investigations to be completed. Coroner Barry King acknowledged that getting to the bottom of the case wasn't likely, given how long had passed, but had not given up hope and urged anyone with information to come forward. At the closing of the inquest in June 2019, the coroner announced that there had been incompetence in the police investigation and that there were too many suspects, while vital evidence had disappeared, including the murder weapon and the victim's luxury car. In his final report, published on the 12th of August 2020, Coroner Barry King found it was most likely Shirley was killed because she had tried to blackmail police about corruption. However, there was a lack of reliable or compelling evidence to identify the killer from a group of suspects, including at least 3 Western Australian police officers. Named suspects included police officers Bernie Johnson, Robert Nevin, Don Hancock, and Sydney criminal Neddy Smith. One of the main suspects was former Vice Squad head Bernie Johnson. However, Bernie had dementia and was not required to give evidence to the inquest due to his ill health. He died in April 2018. Also included in the shortlist of suspects were former Vice Squad detective Robert Nevin, notorious Sydney underworld figure Arthur Stanley Neddy Smith, and the former head of the Criminal Investigation Branch, Don Hancock. Don Hancock died in a car bomb in 2001, and Robert Nevin died in 1987. Neddy Smith, a convicted double murderer serving a life sentence in a Sydney jail, was the last of the 4 to die, having passed away just 2 months ago on the 8th of September 2021. In any case, the lead on Smith was never pursued. Shirley's youngest child, her daughter Bridget, said, "The inquest should have been held when my brothers and I first applied in 2005, when everybody was still alive. But would this case have been solved if an inquest had been held sooner? Well, certainly, it probably would have helped its chances." On the final day of the inquest, the court heard that critical photos from Shirley's house had gone missing. Former police officer Colin Rowe, who attended the house the day after the murder, claimed that he was disturbed by what he found. Rowe stated, "On the coffee table was a stack of 2 photo albums, and I saw photos of Ray O'Connor, the police minister, with Shirley at the back near the pool, and I also recognised senior police officers. It was a little bit of a shock to see them in there. What are they doing there? They're at a party. They're not doing work. Regarding these photos, Shirley's daughter Bridget stated that Ray O'Connor said, "He never knew my mother. Those photo albums would have exposed a lot of people." At the time of Shirley's death, all three of her children were in their teens, with the youngest being 13. Shane, her second son, ended up in jail under wrong conviction for a murder he didn't commit but was in fact set up. Shane mentioned that out on the streets he could not cope with life. After everything he had been through, he struggled with drugs and alcohol, and even though wrongfully convicted, he preferred to be in jail. Bridget, Shirley's youngest daughter, ended up in a home after the passing of Shirley. Stephen, the eldest of the siblings, had a terrible car accident and passed away in his 50s. To this day, both of her sons have passed away, and the only one of her children still alive is Bridget, who has been fighting for justice for her mother for over 40 years. From a young age, Shirley was made out to be immoral and out of line, something that stuck with her for the rest of her life. Had she not been ripped from her family when she was just 14, perhaps things would have been very different for her. Sadly, the circumstances surrounding the murder remain unsolved, and are likely to remain that way. Shirley Finn was mother to 3 children, and to this day, her children have never known justice. Hey everyone, thanks so much for watching this video on Shirley Finn, and I hope you found it interesting. Let me know what you thought of the case down below in the comments, and if you have any suggestions, be sure to also leave them in the comments, or there are links to my Instagram and email, and you can send them there also. I hope you guys have notifications turned on, so you get all my videos as soon as I upload them, and anyway, that's all from me, so I'll see all of you in the next unfortunate end. Thanks.